Hey, FanboyNation.
This is your pal Daffy Duck, and you're watching.
We're watching
Fanboy.
Fanboy,
fanboy, etc.
FanboyNation.
Dot, I assume Tom.
The last time I got to speak to this lady, she was making wrestling great again. But here she is making short work of all the tag team competition, and especially the Disciplinarian this weekend. Jessie Jones, how are you?
Oh, I'm doing all right. I can't complain.
You're kicking ass and taking names. I've been noticing that for quite a while now, going back with Tracy Smothers, and unfortunately we lost him, and I know how close you were to him, but he's the ringmaster behind some of your training.
Absolutely 110%. I would not be anywhere if it was not for him. Like, that's no questions asked.
Well, with this week, we have you pitted against the Disciplinarian. You're finally confronting her. She's kind of fallen short as a tag team partner going along the tag team tournament, and which you never lost the belts. You were stripped of them because your partner is no longer in WoW.
Right. Exactly. That's my whole thing. David McLane stripped me of being a champion because my partner couldn't make it. One of my partners, both my partners, it doesn't matter. The Dixie Darlings weren't anybody or anything until they got with me, correct?
I'm not going to dispute that.
I mean, it's hard to dispute it, for real. And just because they couldn't be there, David decided to strip me of my titles. I think it's a whole bunch of horse manure, like I've said repeatedly.
Well, you've made it very clear. You've taken out various other tag teams on your own or with partners that couldn't carry their weight, and yet you're still seeking someone to pull their own. And how is that really going? Or really, do you need anybody at this point?
I mean, if I was being completely honest, I don't think I need anybody, because if you go back and look at my singles record, that means my record in singles wrestling, I'm undefeated. I've never lost. I've never tapped out. I ain't been pinned, period. Correct?
You are correct.
Absolutely. But when you throw a partner or somebody else in the mix, there may have been a loss or two, but there wasn't nothing I could do about it. So the way that I see it, and the way that I told David, is I ought to be able to defend the belts myself. I pretty much won them myself. The Dixie Darlings were just props. So now he has me searching for a new prop, and I don't think that's fair.
You could almost be the handicap tag team champions.
I could. I mean, I think I've proven that I am. There's no could, would, or should to it. If it was just me in the ring, there is no question on who would come out on top. That's what scares David.
Well, I don't want to get on David's bad side by confirming or denying in any of this, because I also don't want to get on your bad side. But you tried to work with the Disciplinarian a couple of times, and Samantha Smart, her manager, and it just hasn't gelled. Is there a reason somebody that claims to be so well disciplined can't carry their own weight?
You can have discipline and no common sense. That's what I've come to learn with working with the Disciplinarian and Little Miss Smarty Pants. Is they're disciplined, but they obviously ain't got no sense, because if you knew what was good for yourself and what was good for wrestling, if you have any ambition of being a champion, you would be the one chasing me and begging me to be your partner. It wouldn't be me coming to you and being like, hey, I need a partner. Because I just need myself. But according to the rules, The also famous rules is I have to have somebody there. So I was going to disciplinarian being like, hey, you want to be there so you can wear this belt that I earned? Seems easy, right?
With your logic, it does. Even though Samantha Smart calls herself the intellectual superior.
Well, I've been in wrestling for a long time, and like you said, you ain't got to be intellectually superior to be good at wrestling. You just got to be good at wrestling.
Well, you proved that over the years, and you're still kicking in WoW and making sure that people remember who you are.
Exactly.
Yeah. With WoW regaining its popularity, and we've seen the ratings, and I know David doesn't like to talk about the ratings because he doesn't want to jinx things, but we've seen the numbers come in, and it's been higher than Impact Wrestling, and it's almost pulled similar numbers to AEW's Rampage. How is that as a woman's wrestler and a all women's promotion feel when people sit there and thought for the longest time that women didn't belong in wrestling, and here you are matching or beating the men's shows?
Well, honestly, I don't keep up with the ratings of any other shows. I don't even watch any other shows. I have not watched publicly televised wrestling that has aired after probably the mid 90s. So what WoW Women of Wrestling has to offer that nobody else can is women's wrestling. Like other places might offer women's divisions, but they don't give women the platform to highlight themselves and show what they can do. Women of Wrestling is the only place where you can see women in wrestling competing and doing what we do best, which is just as good, if not better, than what the men do. So, I don't even believe that we're in competition with anybody else of any company, because if you are a women's wrestling fan, if you're an old school wrestling fan, you're going to watch WoW and you are going to be entertained and you're going to be captivated and you are going to be captured. That's what I like to say, is you're going to be captured because you cannot wait to see what happens next and who's going to do what.
I've told David this publicly, and I've told Jeannie Buss this privately. What I really enjoy about WoW is that it's not exploitation of the talent. They allow you to go out there and show who you are, cranked up to 11, and put on a show for the audience.
I absolutely agree with that 100%.
Yeah. And because there have been other organizations that have done the exploitative stuff, and they're no longer around. And here, what is it now, 21 years later, WoW is still alive and kicking?
Yeah, well, when you have a phenomenal product, you're going to hold on to it. Sometimes you might have to wait for the right time, but WoW Women of Wrestling is the only company who features and highlights women wrestling on a worldwide scale. So other places might have women's divisions, but they don't highlight that, and they almost discredit it. They almost insult women's wrestling and women who are in the wrestling business. They almost discredit their capabilities. WoW, on the other hand, highlights it. And that's what's so amazing about this company is it's entertainment, it is wrestling, it is fun, it's competition, it's absolutely everything that you love in wrestling. I tell people that even if you ain't a wrestling fan, you will enjoy wrestling just by watching it and watching people who enjoy it. And having been involved in wrestling since 2005, and that's a long time, WoW is the only company in that entire time that has given women the spotlight and said, here you go, run with it. And we did. And so far, we've been doing exactly what we expected, which is still in the spotlight.
Well, Jessie, let's go back into your life. As you mentioned, 2005 is when you started, but what was the moment you realized, all right, this is the business I want to be in? Was it a specific match that you watched? Was it something that you don't even remember the match, but you were like 5 years old and you're like, that's going to be me. I'm going to be that person out there.
Honest to goodness, I remember watching the Monday night, like I didn't even know that this is what it was, but it was Monday Night Wars. And I was watching wrestling and I was like, I need to do this. Like, this is what I want to do. I had no idea how you got into it. I didn't know where to start and where to go, but I knew, and I think I was in about 8th grade. I was like, this is what I'm supposed to do. And it probably took about another 5 or 6 years before I figured out how to get into wrestling, but it was definitely in the mid 90s watching the Monday Night Wars that I was like, this is me. I have to do this. This is, yes.
And then just the tradition of women's wrestling going back to Mae Young and Moolah and Selena Majors, who's been a part of WoW from its inception and is still there, and she's the creative director. What is it like having seen some of these women growing up and then being able to call them your colleague at this point? It's like, I saw you in the ring, now I'm working with you in the ring.
It's so amazing. Like, there is no way I will ever be able to describe it. You could not have told 12-year-old me who was watching wrestling and and seeing Selena and seeing Mae Young and seeing Fabulous Moolah and stuff. You could have not have told the kid that I was, hey, you're gonna do that and you're gonna meet these people. It's completely surreal, and I am beyond honored and blessed to have had the opportunity to not only meet but be able to work with these amazing women.
Now, is there anybody currently on the WoW roster that you see as your equal that you respect on par, or is just everybody competition and in the way of getting to the goal of eventually becoming tag team champion again?
Let's see. Somebody whom I respect on par. I will say tentatively the Beast. And I say that tentatively because I believe that I deserve a world title shot. I have seen lots of girls whom I have beaten get world title shots. But David, somehow has missed the fact that I have not gotten that world title shot, even though multiple women whom I have beaten have. Coincidence? To be determined.
Seems like you want the gold belt and the silver belts all to yourself.
Well, I honestly just want enough belts to fill up a little red wagon to drag to the ring behind me.
So Red Wagon just filled with championship title.
I mean, I think that would about do me justice. Maybe.
So a while ago, you were talking about making wrestling great again. How has it become great again?
You see WoW on nationally syndicated sorry, dumb redneck here. So you see WoW on world syndication, right? That's pretty great.
I will have to agree with you.
The women are getting a spot and are making an impact. So in my eyes, that is making wrestling great.
Jessie, where can we find you on social media if we want to connect with you?
You can find me on Twitter at Wow Jessie Jones, on Facebook as Jessie Bell, and Instagram as Wow's Jessie Jones also.
Jessie Jones, it is always a pleasure to chat with you, whether it's off camera or on camera. I can't wait to be ringside again for the next WOW tapings. Thank you so much for your time, and I hope you have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Thank you so much for having me. Merry Christmas to you as well, and I look forward to seeing you ringside.